Alright, so in the last video I explained to you how we're going to do the key logging, how we're going to keep track of every key that's being pushed so that we can launch a special move whenever we need it. Now, to do that, we're going to use a script. And a script is basically a block of code that we can do over and over. It's a function if you're familiar with programming, and actually things like the ORD function that we've used definitely, or like keyboard check pressed and all that kind of stuff. All those things are functions, and we can write our own in GameMaker. So to do that, we go to the script thing, and we're going to call this script X, because I put X in front of all my scripts, underscore remove dupes. All right. So this is a script that is going to take a keylog, like something like this. Well, it's actually going to look like this with all the stuff that's going to come in. And it's going to take a certain amount of duplicates of a letter and then replace it by a single letter. So that, say we've got a string that looks like this, DDSS, and after the 6 duplicates that we're going to allow, we're going to replace a D. So the script would look, excuse me, starting with the latest one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's put an S. 1, 2. Well, then we move to a D, so maybe let's put another S down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Ds. Oh, D. 2 more Ds. Let's put a D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's put an S. S. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there we go. Our input gets combined to something like that, so that this actually looks more to the input that the player would actually perceive, because the player doesn't perceive all those frames per second when it's inputting it. Like just one push of the button's already like 6 frames or something, and that's what this script is going to do for us. So, alright, how is this going to look like? Well, whenever you write scripts, you put the 3 trailing backslashes, and you copy your script name, dupes, and in this case we're going to do keylog, because we need the original keylog that we've got, and we want allowed dupes in there. So those are 2 variables that we need to write this little script. So why do we do this thing here? Because when you click here, you'll see that the script name has changed, but that's all it is. Well, if you open up any other script at any other pace, if you start typing X remove dupes, and then you press your parentheses, wait, this is kind of weird. And you close this thing up, and you go in there, there we go. It will give you whatever you've typed in there, so it'll tell you what you're supposed to put within the parentheses. So that's really convenient, because the script won't run until you give it the variables that it needs. It needs to know what the keylog is, and it needs to know what the dupes are. Because every function, every script has arguments. It has, what a function or a script really does is you give it some information, the script processes it, and it returns other information to you. So what this script will do is it will take ddddssdd, and it will return something like ddssdd to us. That's basically what we want. Alright? So, pretty cool. So the first thing that we do in our script is we get our arguments, and that's what it's called. The stuff that you put in between the parentheses after the name of the script, those are the arguments. And our arguments are, and we can use the same names because we're going to make these variables local, so they're only in the script and they don't interfere with anything else. So we're going to name keylog is going to be our first argument, which is argument 0, not argument 1, because in computers 0 is the first in line. Typically, and 1 is the second in line. And allow dupes, we can call it allow dupes again here. It's argument 1. Alright, now if we, to make those local, all you have to do is put the word var and the names in there. So now these are local variables and they will never leave our script. Alright, so that's the starting point for this little script. Alright. So I hope I'm not going too fast for anybody here. Anyway, so ask me questions if you need help with this. So how is this script going to work? So again, script is going to take a bunch of letters and condense them into something that's It's more similar to how the player perceives. It's basically going to allow us to get our timing right. So, well, first of all, we want to know how many keys we actually are remembering. So, how long is our key lock? We're going to need that value at some point. So we're going to go with length is going to be the variable that keeps track of that, and we're going to use another function that's built in called string length. And if you have no idea what string length does, I'll show you here. String length. Click this thing here. So string length basically, no, that's still ORD. String length basically is a function that returns, or a script that returns the number of characters comprising of a given string. So a string is a number of, it's characters between quotation marks. So basically, say you have a character that has, like Bob. Bob is a string with 3 characters, B, O, B. String length will return the number 3. If we do string length of Bob, that's, well, if we'd run this, length would actually be 3, okay? But we want to know how long our keylog is, so we're going to just use this thing here. All right. So first thing is, we only will go to work when our keylog is longer than 1, obviously. Because if our keylog is just D, then, well, our output should just be D. So so first we only do something when we have more than 1. All right. So if length is larger than 1, then we do something. All right. Else we're gonna return keylock. So basically this means that we do not have enough characters and just give back the lock. All right. And in this part down here, and I'm just going to make this full screen for you guys almost, so we can still see the compile window here. So this is pretty cool. So this is where we're actually going to write our script in, I guess. And basically, let's say, I'm just going to show you how this function works really quickly. So let's say that we have 2. If we have more than 1, we're going to return Bob. And let me show you how this script works. I can do it in this thing here that we still have. Now don't copy this for a sec. This is just for demonstration purposes. So the function show debug message will basically just put whatever text that goes in here and put it in the compile window once the game is compiled. So what I'm going to do is show debug message, and I'm going to do test1 equals x remove dupes. And we're going to remove dupes from a keylog of D, and we're going to do one that is double D. And we're going to show debug message test1, and we're going to show debug message test2. Let's run this and see what happens. I'm expecting a D and then a Bob, because a double D is larger than 1. All right, so I'm compiling now. And what we get is, we see that it says Bob here. I don't know what happened to our D. Oh, for test 2 we actually have a debug message. I wrote an error because it's not, player test 2 is not set before. Right, so I made a little mistake. Well, this is embarrassing. Anyway, let's do this again. Obviously. So now we've got D Bob exactly the way I was expecting it to go. All right. So that's how it works. That's how a script works. So, okay, let's get to it. How we're going to do these duplicates and removing them. Well, we're going to loop through all the keys that we have in our key lock. So we're going to use a for loop for that. If you've never seen a for loop before, just get to for loops. So a for loop will basically just repeat certain actions over and over, and I'm actually going to have to go to the index, I guess, to get my for loop Here we go. So a for loop has this form. It's kind of like the if statements that you've been used to. So for, and you have three statements actually basically in them. And here's an example. For I equals 0, if I is smaller than 10, then I is I plus 1. Okay? So what this line of code will do is, it will set the variable I at 0, then it will run this code as long as I is smaller than 10, and at the end of all this code, it will increase I by 1. So it will basically run this line 10 times. Once when I is 0, once when I is 1, once when I is 2, all the way until I is 9, and at 10 it will run it no longer. Cool thing is, you can also put I in your code, and that's what this guy is doing here. So it will actually print the value on the screen. So that's how a for statement works. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do for key equals length, because we're going to start at the back of our keylock. And actually, just for reference right now, I'm just going to put what I'm expecting a key lock to look like in here, so I can just use it as reference with you guys. So for key equals length, so we're going to start at the very end. Right now, I don't know, maybe this is 26 or something. So key is going to start at 26. As long as key is larger than 0, we are going to subtract 1 off key. All right. So that's how our for loop is going to work. That's how we're going to run that thing. So this is basically loop through every letter in the key lock back to front, or from last to first, whatever you prefer. So the first character that we're going to come across, that character is always going to be in, right? So that's an easy one. If key wait, I am confused here for a second. Alright, nothing to worry about. If key is length, so this is when, you know, if the key, if that number is 26, we're going to be looking at this character here. So this is going to be character 26, this is going to be character 1. So if key is length, we basically want to keep track of the characters that's there. So to do that, however, we're not going to mess with our key lock, we're going to make a new lock. Well, I'm just going to call that thing new lock, and we can put that up front here. So create a temporary variable to store all the characters that are going to be in. And, you know, I said in quotation marks. We're basically writing a bouncer script here, people. And that one is going to be new lock. And new lock starts out empty. So if key equals length, new lock, we actually want to put, you know, the character that's the first character in our new lock, because that's going to be the first one, right? So new lock equals, and we're going to need a function here from GameMaker. Now you can look these up. There's a lot of ways that you can manipulate strings. There's a lot of ways that you can manipulate a whole bunch of data structures. So if you go to search, you'll find the strings entry. These are a lot of the functions that are out there with strings, but some of them don't really use string in their name, so they won't be in there. If you just double click it, you'll get the strings page, and you'll see all the functions that are there to deal with strings. So this is actually all of them, and there is one that's called char add, and this checks a string and returns the character at a given position. That's exactly what we need, because that's what we want to do. We want to know when key is 26, which letter is actually associated with that position. So our new lock is going to be string char at. That's the code that we had, and if you go in here, you'll get your diff. So you need the string and you need the index. It's simple. The string is actually our key lock, and the position is actually the key. So what this will do is it will grab whatever is the first character, put it in there. Yeah, that's pretty solid. All right, that one's always going to be in. So moving on, what if we're not the first character? All right, else. Well, I think at this point we're starting to have to take those duplicates into account, because then we're just basically looking at, all right, we basically want to have this timer that goes up to 6, and once we hit 6, any key that's there, if it's still the same as the last key, is going to be in. So we want to take care of that now. All right. So we're going to need to set up a variable that's going to count to 6 every time, and we're going to call that variable counter. So we're going to declare that variable up here as well. Yeah, set up a counter. And counter is going to start out at 1 every time. It's going to, this is going to run the first time, and then we're going to go towards the end of our loop, and down here we're going to increase our counter plus equals 1. There we go. So update our dupe counter. So basically what this is gonna do is wait, I'm way at the back of my script here. Where did my for loop? Oh, here's my for loop. Okay, so what this is basically going to do is we're going to set up our counter at 1, and then we get into the for loop, and counter is going to be 1. We're going to do all this kind of stuff. We went through a full character, and then we go to 2, because this is going to increase it, and the for loop is going to do it again. So we got to make sure though that this is part of our for loop. We can't put it out of there, so it has to be in our for loop, obviously. So here we go. Counter starts at 1, we go into the for loop, and as long as we've not gone through the entire key lock, we're going to update that counter at the end of our, after we've gone through all our code to see loop to, to see which letters we're going to move in. And the reason why I got confused there for a second is because I did my comments wrong. So this is actually, oh no, I didn't do them wrong. So here we go. Actually, this is first character is always in. There we go. So yeah, this is a little bit clearer for me to see how things are going. All right. So, well, at this point we could do a little test, and actually I'm just gonna set that up because I don't want to make the videos too long in one go, and this script is probably going to be a two video one. So I'm going to set up a step event, and in the step event I'm going to write a little test script here, and here I'm gonna let's do a little script here that's going to trigger the script. So here we're going to actually write some script that updates our key lock, and that logs our keys. So log all keys, and basically it comes down to doing keyboard checks. So we're going to use keyboard check for this one, not keyboard check press, because keyboard check press is only triggered when you release a key. When your key, you're going to pull your joystick down, you're going to press your directional buttons while you're playing this game, and you don't have to release them for things to happen. So we're going to do keyboard checks, and for now I'm just going to put two different keys in there real quickly. Let's say ORD. So ORD is needed whenever we use regular keyboards, and we're going to put Q in there, and Q will basically do key lock plus equals to Q. Whoops, made a mistake there. Let's copy this thing again, and let's do W as well. There we go. So now we can put Q and W in our key lock, and that's basically all we need at this point. All right. So let's run this real quick, and let's see how our keylogger is working. So we're pressing Q, and oh, well, we can't see that yet. So there's one little thing I want to add as well. Debug line, and we're going to remove this later on, but we're going to write show debug message, And this script, this function basically puts whatever you put between the parentheses, it puts it in the compile window. So we're going to put in here, and I'm going to make a separate variable for that. So string, no, we can't call it string, message, yeah. And our message is going to be x remove dupes. See, it already pops up in here. X remove dupes, our custom little script. Remove dupes, keylog dupes allowed. Now, the reason why this is not going to lead to an error, obviously, is because we've got those things set up in our common variables right here already. Okay, if you don't have that, this is going to be an error. And I show the bub message. All right. So that's how I'm going to run this thing. And now, whenever we press a button, we will see the keylogger get updated. So, oops, not said before reading this. Are you kidding me? I must have made a typo. All right. Let's see here quickly. Set common variables. Yeah, it's allowed dupes, not dupes allowed. Okay, that's funny. Yeah, I want to change this into dupes allowed, because that's how I've been doing it in my other version of the game. So dupes allowed. Let's run it again. Even if I got everything prepared, you'll still see me run into bugs. All right. So now you see that my compile screen is just completely empty because it's just putting empty messages in there. But I press Q once, real quick. All right. There's a 0 coming out, so it's probably an error, W. But now, you know, we get output and we can check if our script is working. So now we want to check why there's a 0 coming out. So, all right. Well, the obvious reason for that is that our length is not bigger and we don't really have any output down here yet. So first thing that we want to do is we kind of want to, actually we don't even have to have an else here, we just want to return the keylog anyway. So return our keylog is something that we should do. And does that already solve it? Because we weren't returning a keylog down here. Let's see what happens. Yep, see? Alright, so now it does work. So that was the problem, it was just an empty script. So return. Oh no, actually we're going to need to use that else thing. Yep, sorry about that. So what we want to do is, like I said earlier, if we don't have enough characters, we're just going to give back keylog, but right here we can just say return new log, because that actually contains whatever comes out of our script. So let's run it again and see if it actually works. Alright, pressing Q really fast. I get 1 Q out of it. Pressing it at a normal speed. Oh, I get 1 Q out of it. Alright, so my script seems to be working well now. Yep. Cool. So right now, since we're only putting the first character in, or returning it right away, there's never going to come multiple characters out of it, even when I press it rather slowly and keep it down long. Actually, you know, last time I kept it down really long and you still saw 1 Q come out. So, alright, that's what I'm going to do for this video. Let's